USC News, Washington.
For insight into the situation, Joel Samuels is a professor of law at USC and an expert on foreign relations. He has worked in Russia and the Ukraine. Having been there, knowing the situation, is it reversible?
I think it is, Dawndy. I think that we're in a dangerous moment, we're in a dangerous situation, but it is a situation that has the potential to de-escalate, and I think we've seen some signs of that today.
If it doesn't, though, and if he goes for Crimea, then it begs the question, well, is he also going to go for that eastern part, the Russian-speaking part of the Ukraine, and what would keep him from just going on and taking all of Ukraine?
Well, there's no question that it does beg the question of what could come next. But Crimea is its own special situation. It was part of Russia until 1954 when Premier Khrushchev passed it on to Ukraine as one of his first acts when he took over. Russia's always had the majority population in that area, and it is the home base of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, which is one of its most important warm water ports. So there are a lot of particular Russian interests that make that a special place for Russia that suggests that even though there's a strong Russian interest and population in eastern Ukraine, it might not move that far.
Yeah, talking about the water there, I mean, where Crimea is, it would give him a direct line to the Mediterranean Sea to get through that waterway.
Well, and let's be clear, it already does. Russia holds a lease until 2042. Part of the deal in 1991 when Boris Yeltsin allowed Crimea to remain as part of Ukraine was that Russia could maintain its port there. So that remains to this day and will remain into the future and probably even beyond 2042.
What does America need to do? Be diplomatic or use force as in economic sanctions?
Well, there's been a lot of pressure obviously on the Obama administration, and I confess that I was among those who felt that they weren't strong enough in the first moments and days when Putin was escalating. But it looks like for the moment this sort of de-escalation might be a positive step, and I think Kerry's presence there tomorrow, he'll meet with Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, that these diplomatic efforts may actually do the trick, and the threat of sanctions may be enough, at least for now.
Are you surprised that we are at the state that we are now? Because you mentioned earlier to me that we've known about this, and it also warrants kind of acknowledging that Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney, who both had been laughed at over the years for the invasion into the Ukraine, now it's kind of like, who's laughing now?
Well, it's a tricky situation. Since 1991, a lot of people have wondered when Russia would make the move in Crimea. It was an obvious place for Russia to assert an interest. But let's remember that during the George Bush years, Russia went into Georgia, and we did not react strongly there. So there's a history of U.S. presidents across party lines taking a delicate approach with regard to Russia when it crosses these borders. And let's remember, too, that this was all part of a single nation not barely 30 years ago. So this is a very delicate situation with ethnic tensions and ramifications that go, of course, beyond Ukraine's borders and into the rest of Europe.
Let's see what happens over the next day or so. I want to have you back as we continue to get your insight on this. Thank you so much, Joel Samuels. Appreciate it.